Hi. Last night when I was making a video, I forgot to mention something. And this is the morning after. I just put my laundry in and I'm drinking some black tea. About the only thing with caffeine in here. And a lot of times I have the decaffeinated kind. You can get away with it because there's a soda machine that has Coca-Cola in there, which naturally is caffeinated. But most of the stuff is it's easier to contain the patients when they're not caffeinated. Easier to control them. Hold on. Last night when I was talking about psychiatric medication, and I was saying that his sex drive came back. For one, when you're talking about antidepressants, they'll enable you from reaching an orgasm or jacking off, but he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about antipsychotic medication. And a couple of things that they do that I didn't go into detail with is they decrease the blood flow during sexual activity, so your penis will be smaller than it normally is when you're not taking the medication, because the penis doctor, any penis doctor knows that your penis size goes by the amount of blood flow that's going to that area during sexual arousal. When you're decreasing blood flow to that area during sexual activity, your penis is not going to reach the maximum size. And impotence or your endowment is not going to have a firm erection because of the side effects of the medication, taking things like that or sedatives and stuff like that. And not only that, but even a small dose, get this, even a small dose will decrease the amount of semen during ejaculation. So your semen load will be smaller when you're even a small dose of the medication will affect your semen load. The amount that you're ejaculating will be less, and these are side effects of regular antipsychotic medications. Not even talking about the antidepressants. If you take an antidepressant, now this girl can't orgasm with her boyfriend, so she's down in the city relapsing on drugs. You know what I mean? Take an antidepressant, then he can't jack off anymore because of sexual dysfunction. Common side effect. And it's like, who the fuck would ever want to deal with something like that? Why the hell would you want to take something like that? And another thing they had to do was when I was talking about when I was working, when I was younger, even when I was 30 years old, I was constantly restarting my hobbies that I was doing when I was younger. When I was a kid, I was in karate class, and my mother couldn't afford to keep me in karate class, but my grandparents are running a business. You would have think financially it doesn't make any sense. You would have think that Genevieve would have pitched in some money and said, "Here, Becky, here's some money to keep the kid in karate class." I would have been a black belt by the time I was 18 years old. You know what I mean? So I had to drop out of karate class, and then I wanted to restart that when I was 18, and then after I spent $1,000 at Dick's Sporting Goods in Florida on boxing gear, which I didn't like boxing. Boxing was boring to me. I like to use my feet. I like more martial arts. I like to use my feet. So martial arts is better for me because I'm natural, like acrobatic. You know what I mean? Like I'm a natural martial artist. I would have excelled. And then that got messed up because I went to a psychiatrist in my early 20s. So then I was picking up the pieces of that, and I was trying to do that when I was 30, and I was working again. I lost all that weight. I got away from psychiatry. I lost all the weight, and I signed up at boxing class. Finally got myself into boxing class. I was going to do that for a year. Then I was going to switch over to mixed martial arts. And then like shortly after that, not to get into the story, but the medical problems I was having that I was trying to figure out, and then diagnosing that, and then the pandemic hit and stuff like that. So my car broke down. I lost my wallet, like a catastrophe. Then I broke my tablet. I lost my wallet. I couldn't get to the dispensary. Then I had nowhere to go. It was really one thing after another. But to get back on track here, when he was talking about he liked to suntan, he was going suntanning, he was riding around the different tanning salons. He started to do that when he was 30 years old too. When he was getting back in shape, he started to pick up on the same hobbies that he had when he was 19, when he was in really good shape physically. He was 18 and 19. He was driving back and forth and going and riding his bike back and forth to different tanning salons. And now he had a car, so he had 3 gym memberships. He was going to High Voltage, Anytime Fitness, so YMCA, and he was going to this Caribbean tanning place. And what the medications do, I get this is the point of the story. They make you sensitive to sunlight. It just doesn't stop. It's just the side effects of the medications. He's a natural athlete. They make him, he likes sun tanning, and they make him sensitive to sunlight. So I just talked about the sexual side effects of how they decrease the amount of semen during ejaculation. They decrease blood flow to that. The blood flow during sexual activity, so your penis won't reach the maximum size or potentially that you could have. But they also, when you're trying to suntan, they can negatively impact fertility as well. Your fertility count can be negatively impacted by the psychiatric medication. So the list goes on and on. Impairing your metabolism and making you sensitive to sunlight. When you went to the psychiatrist and asked for that medication, you obviously were not educated about psychiatric medication. But I mean, he gained a lot of insights about his life. After he left the program, none of this was done when he was in therapy, when he was in the program. None of this was ever done. He made all of this progress after he got off of his medication, after he left the program and discovered meditation. And he started doing yoga practices and stuff like that and meditating, and made all these insightful things about his life, and gained all this knowledge and insight about his life, and the programming part of it about how he messed up his mentality when he was a teenager, when he was listening to rap music, and insight about his mother's parenting skills. She needed to take a different parenting approach. Childhood psychological development when they were being raised in a house before. Then they got dropped off at Chris's house, and it was like 12 or 13 years old. They dropped them off at she dropped them off at his father's house, and at first it was great. Like I said, you got to watch the other videos. I'm not going to talk about everything again. You got to watch the other videos that I posted, but he gained all this knowledge and insight through meditation and figured out scientifically, like channeled back into his life and figured out a million things about his life. His grandparents were successful business owners. They would have paid for his college. It was basically, you were being handed life on a golden plate, dude. I was like, you really were. You could have been very successful. My grandfather looked at me in my mid-20s and he said, you should be married and have about 3 children by now. And when you really look back on it, my father was right when he was saying the things he was saying about the rap music I was listening to, and my grandfather just expected me to be a lot more successful. But you can't be successful when every time you try to make it out, every time you get out of the system. They want to put you back in a program, and you'll never see them. You'll never see them on probation ever again. I mean, when you gain this much knowledge and insight about your life, I mean, they're taking advantage of the situation by trying to put them back on medication, put them back in a psych program, and you have to eventually stand up for yourself and advocate for yourself and explain that how it all happened and that you don't want to be back on the medication because it ruined your life to begin with. And once they know that, any ethical psychiatrist will say, okay, close the book and you can walk away. And that's it. Any ethical psychiatrist, what they're doing in Montgomery County. When you go to the state hospital, and that's a scam to begin with. We talked about that in the other videos. You got to watch them. But there's no rights when you walk in. They technically, the first building that they send you to, you have to get your phone calls approved They don't necessarily have to let you on the phone. They don't have to let you speak to an attorney. I was attacked numerous times in there. The staff that got the guys off me that were beating on me and slamming my head against the wall and punching on me, he down the hallway, he said, I didn't see anything. He turned up there, he said, I didn't see anything. They acted like they didn't know what was going on. Like, that's a lawsuit. And another time I was punched in my face, I got a brand new pair of these glasses right here. And this is my old pair, because there are tape lenses in there. Someone flushed my brand new pair down the toilet. And later on, he told me about it. I was not trying to get a 302 in there. That's what I said. Why wouldn't you want to fight back in that situation? Well, I was already in there on a wrongful arrest. I don't want to make my situation worse by getting a 302 order in there, because if any combative behavior will get you a 302 order, then you'll be mandated to take medication. For the first 9 months I was in there, I wasn't taking anything, and I was attacked a few times, and like I said, even as staff members, when my glasses were flushed down the toilet or broken, they were making comments, they were making sly remarks around the corner saying now, they were essentially laughing about it and making comments saying now he's not going to be able to watch TV, and they were happy about it. You could tell that type of stuff they were saying. And then they found out that, oh, he still has his old pair of glasses. So when I picked up my old pair of glasses and I put them on, it really pissed them off, because they wanted to see me in there with no glasses, not being able to watch TV, being bit on and stuff like that. So like I said, I was attacked in the bathroom. The staff said the staff in there excuse me, said they didn't see anything. The same exact staff member that came in after about a minute and got the two guys off of me down the hallway, I made a comment about it, and he said, I didn't see anything. And this was going on at the state hospital. They called code anytime something was happening with anybody else, any arguments or any type of behavior. They called code. If someone was starting shit with me, they didn't call code. They didn't do anything. They just acted like they didn't know what was going on. But we're back to what I was saying about human rights. When you go in there, you have no human rights at all. Technically, they don't have to let you use the phone. They don't have to let you speak to your public defender. You have no human rights from the time you walk in the door until you go to your competency evaluations, which is a bunch of bullshit questions like what's an arraignment, what's a preliminary hearing, and stuff like that. And I should have been cleared after my first competency evaluation, and then you get sent back to jail and you go to court. My charges would have been dropped and I could have been released. And I had to stay in a state hospital for 2.5 years because they were declaring me not competent, just like everybody else. There was people in there that were in there for 3, 4, 5 years. My roommate was a long-term resident. He was in there for 38 years. And it's very rare that you get to even see somebody that's that institutionalized. And like I said, then they keep you in that one building over there for a year, and then they transfer you across the street, which is the same type of setup, the same type of building, the same hallway. And they keep you over there for a year or longer, and they say it's a step down. It's not. It's the same type of thing. The only difference is that they don't pat you down after meal trays, so it's a little bit more relaxed to the point where they don't pat you down before and after you eat your trays. Like I said, it was maximum security in there. But the way they bring us in there and they round us up to eat is like a concentration camp. It's like a psychiatric holocaust, and it's a major violation of human rights. And then they send you to these RTFs and these CRRs, and they make you feel like you have to conform to psychiatry to get out of the place. I never had a 302 order. They weren't able to get a 302 order on me, and my behavior was great. I was reading and educating myself. I got to wrap up my video. I'm at 15 minutes, but they don't have a 302 order, and they try to make you feel like you have to conform to psychiatry in order to get out of the place. And it's a major violation of your human rights. You shouldn't have to. Thanks for listening.